begins in April. Egypt set to elect new president. Israel resumes attack on Gaza after temporary ceasefire.
This is the news.
Today, a helicopter owned by the Nigerian Air Force crashed in Port Harcourt, Rivers State capital. Nigerian Air Force spokesman Edward Gipkwat confirmed the development in a statement on Friday. He said a helicopter with the number NAF MI 35P crashed at exactly 7:45 a.m. shortly after it took off for an operation against economic saboteurs in Rivers State. He further stated that everyone on board survived and sustained minor injuries. Gipkwat added that they are being attended to at Air Force Medical Center, Port Harcourt. He explained that the Chief of Air Staff, Air Marshal Hassan Abubakar, has gone to Port Harcourt to assess the situation for himself. The federal government has announced that a new minimum wage regime will take effect on April 1, 2024. Minister of Information and National Orientation Idris Mohammed stated this in an interview with newsmen in Abuja. He said the present 30,000 naira minimum wage would expire at the end of March 2024. According to the analysis of the 2024 to 2026 fiscal framework budget, the federal government will spend 24.66 trillion naira on salaries in 2024, 2025, and 2026. Following President Bola Tinubu's removal of fuel subsidy on May 29, 2023, the federal government decided to provide 35,000 naira to each of its workers to mitigate the consequences of the subsidy removal. However, Organized Labour stated that the 35,000 naira award was merely a stopgap solution, adding that the minimum wage should be reconsidered in 2024. After months of discussions, the federal government team and the Joint National Public Service Negotiating Council reached an agreement on the implementation of the 30,000 minimum wage on October 18, 2019. However, trade unions stated on Thursday that they had begun negotiations with the federal government, stressing that the country's labor legislation requires that the minimum wage be reviewed every 5 years. The government of the Republic of Zambia has urged African heads of state, ministers of health, and leading scientists, innovators, and researchers, among others, to implement decisions and policies towards safeguarding public health in Africa and beyond. The acting president of the Republic of Zambia, Mrs. Mutale Nalumango, said this at a closing ceremony of the third International Conference on Public Health in Africa in Lusaka, Zambia, on Thursday night. Nalumango, who is the vice president of Zambia, noted that Africa's public health challenges are many and diverse. She, however, said there is an opportunity for innovation, collaboration, and change. A decade after Egypt's President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi came to power in a coup, he is preparing to run for a third term. The former defense minister is the clear favorite, despite overseeing a rapidly declining economy and facing criticism from Western partners and rights groups over his human rights record. In October, al-Sisi announced his bid following a 3-year conference called Story of a Homeland. The elections are scheduled to take place for 3 days, starting on December 10. Egyptians living abroad can vote at 121 Egyptian embassies and consulates around the world from December 1 to 3. The incumbent, President al-Sisi, is running as an independent candidate for the third term. He served as Egypt's defense minister from 2012 to 2013 and as deputy prime minister from 2013 to 2014. During those two roles, he was a general in the Egyptian army, serving as director of military intelligence from 2010. El-Sisi resigned from the army in 2014 to stand for election, as he was barred from doing so as a member of the armed forces. Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva is seeking to position his country as a world leader in the battle against climate change. He arrived at the United Nations Climate Change Conference last year to cheers and supporters chanting his name, "Brazil is back." He told the enthusiast audience that declaring the fight against climate change is the highest profile issue of his administration. 1 year later, Lula is returning today to the annual climate conference, known in its latest edition as COP28. But critics question whether he has lived up to the sweeping promises he made on the world stage, particularly as Brazil continues to grow its oil and natural gas sectors. You're on to Global News from Adaba 88.9 FM Akure, transmitting from Ilaramoki. After the break, Israel resumes attack on Gaza after temporary ceasefire. Please join us again.
The news on Adaba 88.9 FM.
Glad to have you back for news update and live streaming. Visit our website to www.adaba89.fm or download Adaba FM app on Google Play Store. You can be part of us on our social media platforms www.facebook.com/AdabaFM8.9 or join us on Instagram and X at Adaba89FM. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel at Adaba FM TV. Then you can send us email. You can send us message via email at newsroom@adaba89.fm. Now the rest of the bulletin. As Israeli military resumed combat operations, it accused Hamas of violating the terms of a temporary truce. Shortly before the ceasefire was due to expire, sirens sounded in southern Israel, and the Israeli army said it had intercepted a rocket launched from Gaza. The Hamas-run Interior Ministry said multiple areas had been hit by Israeli airstrikes. The truce led to the release of more than 100 hostages being held in Gaza, but around 140 remain in captivity. Meanwhile, the restart of the hostilities is likely to worsen the humanitarian crisis in the territory amid shortages of essential supplies. Spokesman for the Hamas-run Health Ministry said at least 6 Palestinians were killed this morning in an Israeli air raid in Rafah City, a city in southern Gaza. A doctor with Al-Hali Hospital, Fadel Nahim, said 2 children were killed in air raids on Gaza City in the north. A federal judge has temporarily blocked a ban on TikTok set to come into effect next year in Montana, saying the popular video sharing app was likely to win a pending legal challenge. U.S. District Court Judge Donald Mueller placed the injunction on the ban until the case originally filed by TikTok in May has been ruled on its merits. Mueller deemed it likely TikTok and its users will win, since it appeared the Montana law not only violates free speech right, but runs counter to the fact that foreign policy matters are the exclusive domain of the federal government. The app is owned by Chinese firm ByteDance and has been accused of a wide swath of U.S. politicians of being under Beijing's tutelage, saying the company furiously denies. This winter is likely to see a long and bloody stalemate in Ukraine, with neither side backing down from offensives and counter-offensives, but may sow the seed of negotiations next year. This was suggested by expert. Retired Colonel Seth Kromorich told newsmen the winter is just going to reinforce the mystery, saying neither side is going to have a tactical or operation breakthrough. Ukraine launched a major counter-offensive in early June that by some estimate took back half of the land Russia had seized earlier in the year. But it failed in its strategic objective of cutting Russian forces in two, isolating Kherson, Zaporizhia and Crimea for Luhansk, Donetsk and Kyiv. Ukrainian senior commanders have said the counteroffensive will continue through the winter. A Japanese news outlet has reported that a reporter with Hong Kong South China's Morning Post has gone missing in China after a work trip, raising fears that she has been detained by Chinese authorities. Mary Chan, an award-winning reporter specializing in Chinese defense and diplomacy, traveled to Beijing to attend the Zhejiang Forum, but became unreachable after the end of the 3-day security conference on October 31. The South China Morning Post, which is owned by Chinese tech giant Alibaba, did not respond to newsmen's request for comment. Chan has worked for the Post since 2005, according to the newspaper's website. A most recent article published on November 1 discussed Chinese mediating role in the war in Gaza. And on sport, a Nasser striker Cristiano Ronaldo is facing a class action lawsuit. The Portugal captain has been asked to pay at least $1 billion in damages for promoting cryptocurrency-related non-fungible tokens, or NFTs, which were issued by Binance. The lawsuit was filed in federal court in the Southern District of Florida. It alleges that Ronaldo's promotion of Binance was deceptive and unlawful. The plaintiffs claim Binance's partnership with high-profile figures like Ronaldo led them into costly and unsafe investment. To end global news, a recap of the top stories. The federal government has announced that the new minimum wage for workers will begin in April. Egypt has begun an election that will produce a new president. Israel has resumed attack on Gaza after a temporary ceasefire. That's global news as edited by Sunday Ajiboye. I'm Olajumoke Omotosho.